Today we are doing lesson 15.3, volume of spheres. Our I can statements for today: I can find the volume of a sphere and I can solve real life problems. So our key idea for the volume of a sphere. The volume of a sphere is the product of 4/3 pi and the cube of the radius of the sphere. So what that means is this, that we do 4/3 times pi times radius cubed. So up till now on our cylinders and cones and circles for area and volume, we've been doing radius squared. Now for a sphere, we're doing radius cubed. We no longer have a height, and that's because on a sphere, our height actually is 2 of the radiuses. We've got our radius up to here, and then our radius up to here. So multiplying by the height, we have those radiuses. We have this radius as well. So we have 3 radiuses that are getting multiplied. All right, well, let's go ahead and start practicing using our formula. So find the volume of the sphere. Round your answer to the nearest tenth. Okay, so volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. As a side note, when we're putting 4/3 into our calculator, we'll put times 4 divided by 3. That will give us that 4/3. Okay. I'll write that out this way too. 4 times pi r cubed divided by 3. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this problem. So I have 4/3 times pi times my radius cubed. So I need 3 times 4 times 4 times 4. Okay, and I'll just remind you, 4 divided by 3. 4/3 means 4 divided by 3. Okay. So 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 4 times 4 times 4 gives us 267.946 repeating. It says round to the nearest tenth, so we're looking at the tenths place. That's 9. We look at the number behind it. 4 tells us it's going to stay a 9. 267.9 centimeters cubed. Volume, always in cubic units. All right, let's take a look at our next one. Find the radius of the sphere. And if you notice, look over here, 288 pi. They're giving it in pi terms. If I wanted to find the actual volume, I would take 288 and I'd multiply times 3.14. They're giving it to you in pi terms to make it easier to solve the equation. I'm not exactly sure why they do that for the sphere for these types of problems and not for the cylinder and the cone, but if they give it to you in pi terms, when we put it into the formula, we're going to leave it in pi terms. It's going to make it a little bit easier for us. So here's your formula. Volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. I'm going to put in the information. The only information they gave us was this volume, 288 times pi. Okay, equals 4/3 times pi r cubed. All right, so I left this pi as a variable. If I wanted to, I could have done 288 times 3.14, find this answer. Do 4 divided by 3 times 3.14. But I don't, it's an extra step I don't have to do. If I divide both sides by 3.14, it cancels those pi. If you think of them like a variable, it cancels it out on both sides. So then I have this, 288 equals 4/3 radius cubed. I have a times 4/3 that I need to cancel out. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal times 3/4. It's the same thing as dividing by 4/3. Keep change flip times 3/4. All right, 4 divided by 4 cancels out. 3 divided by 3 cancels out. On this side, I'm left with radius cubed. All right, and then I have 3/4 times 288. And if it helps you in your calculator, you can put in that 3/4 as 75/100 if you want to. That look like parentheses and not a 1. All right, so 3/4 times 288 gives me 216. All right, so now I have 216 equals radius cubed. Now this is, this part of the book, this is from an 8th grade chapter, and they assume that you've done equations with roots, cube roots and square roots, which of course we haven't gotten to yet because we're still making our way through the 7th grade chapters. But in an equation that has an exponent, the opposite of a cubed, this is to the 3rd power means cubed, is a cubed root. So we're going to do the cubed root of 216. Now every calculator is a little bit different. So it just kind of depends on what calculator you're using. You can always, if you're going to, say, use your Chromebook or a phone to help you, you could type in cube root of 216, and that could give you your answer. On an iPhone, which is what I happen to have in front of me right now, if you turn your phone this way to use as a calculator, you've got like your numbers are over here and there are a bunch of little symbols. The symbol you're looking for looks like this. The cube root of that number. If you are using a handheld calculator, sometimes it looks like this, sometimes it looks like this. And if you're doing one that has X and Y, then you'll have to type in that 3 for your cubed root. Okay, so you'll have to look at the instructions that come with your calculator. If you're using a phone, my iPhone has this, it has really both of these as a button, but this is the one that you would need. If you're using just Google, you can type cube root of 216 in to get your answer. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and find my answer by doing the cube root of 216, and that is 6 and then inches. What that means is if I do 6 to the 3rd power, 6 times 6 times 6, I get 216. All right, go ahead and pause the video and try these two on your own. All right, let's check our answers. So again, here's our formula, 4/3 pi r cubed. This one gives us the diameter. The radius is going to be 8 feet. And that comes from doing this. 16 divided by 2 equals 8. All right, so volume equals 4/3 times pi, 3.14, times radius cubed, 8 times 8 times 8. All right. So 4/3 times 3.14 times 8 times 8 times 8. Okay, gives us 2,143.573 3 repeating. Let's see, nearest 10th. That's the 10th place. Number behind it, 7, tells me to round up. So I have 2,143 and 6/10 feet cubed. Don't forget your label. All right. Let's go ahead and try this next one. So I'm going to take the information they give me, the volume, and I'm going to put it into the formula. 36 pi equals 4/3. Since they give it to me in pi terms, I'm going to leave pi as a variable. Pi r cubed. I'm going to cross out pi on both sides. Then I'm going to multiply both sides by 3/4 to cancel out the 4/3. The 4's cancel out, the 3's cancel out. It leaves me with r to the 3rd power. And then when I do 3/4 times 36, I get 27. To cancel out the cubed, I need the cubed root. Cubed root of 27 is going to be 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. 3 meters is our radius. All right, let's take a look at one that is a composite figure. A hemisphere is 1/2 of a sphere. The top of the silo is a hemisphere with a radius of 12 feet. What is the volume of the silo? Round your answer to the nearest 1,000. Okay, so if I have a hemisphere, we would use our formula, 4/3 pi r cubed. And then when we get our answer, we would divide it by 2. Or, and I'm going to show you why up here in a second, divide by 2 is times 1/2, 1/2. 4/3 times 1/2 is 4/6. So I could do 4/6 pi r cubed. Okay, so that's the formula that we need for a hemisphere. Okay. So let's go ahead and try it. They tell us the radius is 12 feet. And then I know that means this part is also going to be 12 feet because that's the radius. Okay. So for my hemisphere, it just kind of looks like a semicircle there, but that's all right. For the hemisphere, I'm doing 4/6 pi r cubed. So I'm going to do volume equals 4/6 times 3.14 times 12 times 12 times 12. In my calculator, I would do 4 divided by 6 for that part. 4 divided by 6 times 3.14 times 12 times 12 times 12 gives me 3,617 and 28 hundredths. That's my number for my hemisphere. Now I need to do my cylinder. Remember that formula is pi r squared times height. So if I need to know my height, I'm going to go back over here to my picture. We said for the hemisphere, the radius from the center to the top is 12. That means this part, the height of our cylinder, is going to be 40 feet. I get that from doing the total 52 minus the 12 of the radius. That's where that 40 comes from. All right, well now I know the information I need for my formula. 3.14 volume equals 3.14 times my radius squared, 12 times 12. It is the same radius as the hemisphere, times my height of 40. All right, so let's see, 3.14 times 12 times 12 times 40 equals 18,086. Okay, so this underlined portion is my hemisphere. This underlined portion is my cylinder. I need them together. So I'm going to go ahead and add my two underlined numbers together. So I'm going to add 3,617 and 28/100 to my 18,086 and 4/10. I get 21,703.68. However, it says to the nearest thousand. This is the thousands place. I look at the number behind my thousands place. It is a 7. It tells me I'm going to round up. My nearest thousand is going to be 22,000 cubic feet, which is a very big volume. Make sure you read the directions carefully about whether or not you need to round, and then make sure you're rounding correctly. All right. Here are two more composite volume problems to try on your own. Go ahead and pause the video and try these two problems. All right, so let's go ahead and check our answers. So for 3, I have a sphere that's basically split into 2 pieces, and then I have a cylinder. Those are my 2 parts. My sphere formula is 4/3 pi r cubed, and my cylinder formula is pi times radius squared times height. We're going to find the volume of both parts, and then we're going to add them together. All right, so if I look at my picture here, my radius for both of these shapes is 2 inches. So for my sphere, I'm going to do 4/3 times 3.14 times my radius cubed, 2 times 2 times 2. All right, so 4/3 times 3.14. Hold on, let me try it again. 4/3 times 3.14 times 2 times 2 times 2. And I get 33.493 with my 3 repeating. All right, that's the first part that I need. I'm just going to underline it so it stands out. All right, now I'm going to do my cylinder. Here's where it gets a little tricky. I need the height. This part is the height of my cylinder. Even though it's on its side, the height is the distance between the bases. That's the height. It's not 8. 8 is all the way from here to here. This part is the radius of 2. This part would be the radius of 2, which means this part in the middle has to be 4, because 2 plus 2 is 4 and 8 minus 4 is 4. So my height that I'm actually using for the cylinder is 4 inches. It's not this 8 inch. The 8 is from this edge all the way to that edge. Okay, so now I'm ready to do my volume for my cylinder. 3.14 times my radius squared, same radius, 2 times 2, times 4, which is my height. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply those together. 3.14. Oh my goodness. Gotta clear out my calculator. 3.14 times 2 times 2 times 4 gives me 50 and 24/100 Those underlined numbers are the two that I need. So my total volume, when I add them together, and I'm just going to type this in as 1, 3 for right now because I'm going to round to the nearest tenth. So the repeating part doesn't really matter. 83.733, and really that 3 is repeating. To the nearest tenth, 7 is in the tens place. Number behind it is a 3, so this is going to stay as 10. I'm sorry, a 7. 83.7 inches cubed is my total volume for number 3. All right, let's take a look at number 4. Number 4 is made of a cylinder and a cone. So I have the cylinder, and that formula is pi times radius squared times height. And then I have the cone part, and my volume for that is the same as my cylinder, pi times the radius squared times height, and then divided by 3. Okay, so now I am ready to figure out my two answers, and then I'll add them together. So for the cylinder, it looks like my height is 9, 3.14 times, and it looks like my radius here is 3. So 3.14 times radius squared, 3 times 3, times 9. 3.14 times 3 times 3 times 9 gives me 254 and 34 hundredths. I'm going to underline it because I'm going to need that number in a minute. Okay, now I'm going to do my cone. 3.14 times my radius squared. It's still 3. Times 3 times 3 times my height, which is 5. Divided by 3. All right, so 3.14 times 3 times 3 times 5 divided by 3 gives us 47 and 1/10. I'm going to add those two parts together. I get 301 and 44 hundredths, but they asked me to do nearest tenths, so 4 is in the tens place. The 4 behind it tells me that it's going to stay the same. 301 and 4/10 meters cubed.